The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of the Eco Hotel ballroom, and Amara Okafor stood frozen, her silk gown pooling around her ankles like spilled blood. Across the room, her husband of 12 years, Chike Okafor, Lagos's most celebrated tech billionaire, had his tongue down the throat of her younger sister, Ngozi. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. The betrayal wasn't happening in shadows or whispered corners. It was right there, under the crystal chandeliers of their anniversary party, surrounded by 300 guests who were supposed to be celebrating their love. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched Chike's hands slide down Ngozi's bare back, the same hands that had held their twin daughters just hours earlier. Chike! The name tore from Amara's throat like a wounded animal's cry. Every head in the ballroom turned. The live band stuttered to silence. Chike pulled away from Ngozi, his lips still wet, his eyes wide with something that wasn't quite shame, more like inconvenience. Amara, I can explain. Explain? Amara's voice rose, cutting through the suffocating silence. Her hands trembled as she pointed at her sister, who stood there in a red dress Amara had bought her last Christmas. You're kissing my sister at our anniversary party, and you want to explain? Ngozi had the audacity to smile. A small, cruel curl of her painted lips. Sister, please don't make a scene. This isn't what you think. The words hit Amara like a physical blow. The domestic betrayal she'd suspected for months, the late nights, the distant touches, the way Chike's phone was suddenly password protected, crystallized into this nightmare. But her own sister? The girl she'd raised after their mother died? The woman she'd paid through university? Chike straightened his designer suit, his face hardening into the mask he wore in boardrooms. We'll discuss this at home, Amara. You're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself? Amara laughed, a bitter sound that echoed off the walls. I'm embarrassing myself? The crowd began to murmur, phones emerging from purses and pockets. Tomorrow, this would be all over Instagram, Twitter, every Amara sat in her parked Range Rover outside the Eco Hotel, staring at her phone screen. The mysterious messages had stopped after the second one, leaving her with more questions than answers. Dawn was breaking over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that seemed obscene given the wreckage of her life. Her twins, Kayamika and Chidera, were still at her mother-in-law's house in Lekki. They were only 7 years old, too young to understand that their father was a cheating monster and their aunt was a home wrecker. How did you explain this kind of emotional manipulation to children? Funmi had fallen asleep in the passenger seat hours ago, her head tilted against the window. They'd driven around Lagos all night, from Victoria Island to Ikoyi to the third mainland bridge, going nowhere because Amara couldn't bring herself to go home. Home wasn't home anymore. It was a crime scene. Her phone buzzed. Not the mysterious number this time, but her lawyer. Mrs. Okafor? It's Yetund Adeyemi. I heard about what happened last night. I'm so sorry. The lawyer's voice was professional but warm. Listen, I know it's early, but we need to act fast. News like this spreads, and you need to protect yourself. Amara's throat tightened. How bad is it? You're trending on Twitter. The videos are everywhere. But that's not what I'm worried about. Yetund paused. I did some digging last night after I saw the posts. Your husband moved 15 million naira out of your joint accounts yesterday morning. Before the party. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did, and Amara felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. He planned this, she whispered. He knew I would find out. He wanted me to catch them. It looks that way. And there's more. He's been transferring assets, properties, investments, into offshore accounts and shell companies for the past 6 months. If you don't act now, you'll be left with nothing. Nothing. After 12 years of marriage, after giving up her career as a rising star at First Bank, after bearing his children and playing the perfect wife for his investors and politicians and society friends. Nothing. The man smiled grimly. Your husband's company, Okafor Tech? The one worth 3 billion naira? It was built on stolen technology and fraud. I worked for him until he tried to have me killed when I discovered the truth. I've been waiting 2 years for the right moment to take him down. He handed her the envelope. This is that moment. Use it wisely. Before Amara could respond, he climbed into the SUV and drove away. She opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were hundreds of pages of documents, bank statements, emails, photographs, legal contracts. All of it damning. All of it explosive. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Chike. You have 24 hours to sign the divorce papers and agree to my terms, or I'll make sure you never see the girls again. Don't test me. Amara stood in the morning sun, surrounded by the roar of jets taking off, holding evidence that could destroy the man she'd once loved. The man who just threatened to take her children. She thought about the woman she'd been last night, shocked, betrayed, broken. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone new. Someone harder. Someone ready to fight. But as she turned to leave, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Ngozi, standing across the parking lot, talking on her phone and staring. The law office of Adeyemi and Associates sat on the 15th floor of a glass tower in Victoria Island, overlooking the controlled chaos of Lagos below. Amara clutched the manila envelope against her chest like a shield as she rode the elevator up, Funmi silent beside her. Yetunde Adeyemi was everything Amara needed right now, sharp, ruthless, and unimpressed by billionaires. She'd made her reputation dismantling powerful men who thought their money made them untouchable. Mrs. Okafor. Yetunde rose from behind her desk, extending a perfectly manicured hand. She was in her late 40s, wearing traditional iro and buba in rich purple fabric that somehow looked more intimidating than any Western suit. I've been following the news. Your husband's PR team is working overtime. They're painting me as the villain. Amara sank into the leather chair across from the desk. He filed for divorce and custody before I even knew what was happening. Classic preemptive strike. Make you look unstable, get ahead of the narrative, position himself as the victim of a cheating wife. Yetunde's eyes were cold. But that's about to change. What did you bring me? Amara slid the envelope across the desk. For the next hour, Yetunde reviewed the documents in silence, her expression growing darker with each page. Finally, she looked up. This is bigger than divorce. This is criminal. She tapped one document. Your husband's been running a massive fraud scheme. Okafor's core technology, the one that made him a billionaire, was stolen from a former partner who mysteriously died in a car accident 3 years ago. The partner's widow has been trying to sue, but Chaik's been paying off judges. Amara felt sick. He had someone killed? I can't prove that. Yet. But I can prove the theft, the fraud, the bribery. She'd wanted revenge. She'd wanted justice. She'd wanted to punish Chaik for his infidelity, for his cruelty, for his betrayal. But revenge, she was learning, was a poison that killed everything it touched. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number, not the mystery informant, someone new. Your sister Ngozi has your daughters at a hotel in Abuja. Chaik is planning to take them out of the country tonight. If you want to stop him, you have 1 hour. Attached was a photo of Kayamaka and Chidera in a hotel room, looking scared and confused, with Ngozi sitting beside them. Amara's blood turned to ice. He was going to kidnap her children. Take them somewhere she couldn't find them, use them as leverage to force her to drop the charges. She grabbed her car keys and ran. But as she reached the front door, it swung open. Chaik stood there, his eyes cold and hard. Behind him were 2 large men in suits, security, or worse. Going somewhere? He asked softly. Amara's heart stopped. She was trapped in her own home with the man she'd just tried to destroy. The man who'd threatened to take everything from her. And she was completely alone. What would you do in Amara's situation? Run, fight, or negotiate? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Share this with your friends and hit that notification bell for Chapter 4. Amara's hand tightened around her phone, her thumb hovering over the emergency call button. The 2 men behind Chaik were blocking the doorway, their expressions blank and professional, the kind of men who did what they were told without asking questions. You shouldn't be here, Amara said, trying to keep her voice steady. You're violating the restraining order. Chaik laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Restraining order? My lawyer got it dismissed this afternoon. Amazing what a good lawyer can do when you actually have money to pay them. He stepped into the foyer, and the 2 men closed the door behind them. Unlike you, who's burning through Yetunde's retainer and will be broke in a month. Where are my daughters? Our daughters are perfectly safe. Better than safe, they're away from you. He moved closer, and Amara forced herself not to back away. Did you really think you could destroy me, Amara? Me? I built an empire from nothing. You think some leaked documents and newspaper articles will take me down? You're facing criminal charges. The EFCC will drop everything once my lawyers are done with them. You want to know the truth? I've been paying off government officials for years. You think they'll let me go to prison when I know where all the bodies are buried? His smile was cruel. I'm untouchable. I always have been. The confidence in his voice terrified her. Because she believed him. Men like Chaik didn't go to prison in Nigeria, not really. They paid fines, made deals, walked away with their empires intact while everyone else burned. What do you want? She asked. I want my life back. I want you to call a press conference and admit you fabricated everything because you were jealous of my success and my relationship with your sister. He pulled out a prepared statement from his jacket pocket. You're going to read this, apologize publicly, and withdraw all charges. Then you're going to agree to a divorce where you get nothing except a small monthly allowance to live on. The house, the cars, the investments, all of it stays mine. And if I refuse? Then you never see the twins again." He showed her his phone, a video of Kayamika and Chitara crying, asking for their mother. "They're already on a plane to Abuja, but that's not their final destination. I have friends in Dubai, in London, in places you couldn't find with an army of investigators. Sign what I want, do what I say, or you lose them forever." The emotional manipulation was perfect. Amara looked at the flash drive, thinking of her husband's face this afternoon, his absolute certainty that he'd won. Thinking of Ngozi's betrayal, her sister's cruel smile. Thinking of her daughters, scared and confused in an Abuja hotel room. She'd tried to be merciful before. She'd tried to just escape the marriage, to take what was hers and move on. But Chaik wouldn't let her go. He'd rather destroy her than let her be free. Fine. If he wanted total war, she'd give it to him. What do you need me to do? The next morning, Amara stood in front of a bank of cameras at the Eco Hotel, wearing a simple black dress and minimal makeup. She looked exactly like a woman broken by scandal, which wasn't hard, since that's what she was. Chaik stood off to the side, watching with satisfaction. His lawyers flanked him, expensive suits and confident smiles. Amara unfolded the statement he'd written for her. "I want to apologize," she began, her voice shaking perfectly, "for the lies I told about my husband. I was angry about his relationship with my sister, and I lashed out by fabricating evidence and bribing journalists to print false stories." In the audience, Amara saw Yutund, nodding almost imperceptibly. "My husband is a good man who worked hard to build his company. I was jealous of his success and tried to destroy him out of spite. I deeply regret my actions and ask for his forgiveness and the forgiveness of the public." The journalists looked uncomfortable. Some looked angry. They knew this was a lie, could see Chaik's hand in every word. But it didn't matter. Because at that exact moment, 300 kilometers away in Abuja, federal police were raiding the Transcorp Hilton. And in Lagos, EFCC agents were arresting Chaik's security chief, the man who'd arranged the murder of Adi's husband, the man who was now offering to testify against Chaik in exchange for a reduced sentence. And in newsrooms around the world, journalists were receiving packages containing audio recordings, financial documents, and witness testimonies linking Chaik Okafor to fraud, bribery, and retrial. Continue. Murder. Amara finished reading this part of Amara, the part that remembered raising Ngozi after their mother died, the part that had once loved her sister, wanted to help. But a harder part, the part that had been forged in betrayal and public humiliation, wanted to let Ngozi suffer. "You made your choices," Amara said. "Now live with them." She hung up. But as they pulled into the driveway of the Banana Island house, Amara couldn't shake the image of her sister, alone and pregnant, facing the same kind of public disgrace Amara had endured. Was this what revenge had made her? Someone who could turn away from family, who could harden her heart against a woman carrying her husband's child. The twins woke up as Funmi helped carry them inside. "Mama," Chitara asked sleepily, "is Daddy coming home?" Amara looked at her daughter's innocent face and felt something break inside her chest. "No, baby. Daddy did some bad things, and he has to stay away for a while." "Is Auntie Ngozi coming?" The question hung in the air. Amara thought of all the ways she could answer. She thought of the revenge she'd taken, the satisfaction she'd expected to feel. She thought of the woman she'd been before all this started, and the woman she'd become. "I don't know," she said finally. "I honestly don't know." That night, after the twins were in bed, Amara stood in her empty master bedroom, Chaik's belongings already removed by police as evidence. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She'd won. She'd destroyed the man who'd betrayed her. She'd protected her children and secured their future. So why did she feel like she'd lost something irreplaceable? Her phone buzzed one last time. A message from the original mystery informant, the one who'd started all of this. "You did well. But be careful. Chaik has friends in prison. Friends who owe him favors. This might not be over." Amara stared at the message, feeling ice slide down her spine. She'd thought the war was over. She'd thought she could finally rest. But maybe revenge was like poison. Once you started using it, you could never really stop. Are you Team Amara, or do you think she went too far? Drop your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more emotional stories. What do you think that warning means? Hit the notification bell because Chapter 5 is going to change everything. 2 weeks after Chaik's arrest, Lagos was still buzzing with the scandal. Every newspaper, every blog, every dinner party conversation circled back to the same questions. How had no one known? How had the perfect couple hidden so much darkness? Amara had become a reluctant celebrity. Women stopped her at the grocery store to thank her for fighting back. Men looked at her with a mixture of admiration and fear. The media called her everything from brave survivor to calculating destroyer, depending on which outlet you read. She ignored all of it. Her focus was on the twins, on rebuilding their sense of safety. Kayamika had started having nightmares. Chitara had become clingy, refusing to let Amara out of her sight. They needed therapy, routine, normalcy, things that were impossible when photographers camped outside the house. Yutun called with updates every few days. The EFCC had frozen all of Chaik's assets. The murder trial was set for 3 months away. His company, Okafor Tech, was in free fall, investors pulling out, employees resigning, partners severing ties. Everything Chaik had built was crumbling to dust. "You'll get a significant settlement," Yutun said during one of their calls. "Even with the legal fees and the asset freeze, you're looking at enough to live comfortably for life. The house is yours. Most of the investments. The court is being surprisingly fair." Fair, Amara repeated. The word felt strange. Nothing about this situation was fair. Her daughter's father was in prison. Her sister was pregnant and alone. Her marriage was tabloid fodder. Fair didn't exist anymore. She'd been avoiding Ngozi's calls for 2 weeks. Every day, her sister left voicemails, crying, begging, apologizing. Amara deleted them without listening. But one afternoon, while the twins were at their grandmother's house for a supervised visit, there was a knock at the door. Ngozi stood on the doorstep, visibly pregnant now, her face gaunt and streaked with tears. She looked nothing like the confident woman who'd kissed Chaik at the anniversary party. She looked broken. "Please," Ngozi said. "Just 5 minutes. Then I'll leave and never bother you again." Every instinct screamed at Amara to slam the door. But she thought of the child her sister was carrying, her daughter's half-sibling, and stepped aside. They sat in the living room, an ocean of silence between them. "I'm sorry," Ngozi finally said. "I know that's not enough. I know words don't fix what I did. But I need you to understand." "Understand what?" Amara's voice was ice. "That you slept with my husband? That you helped him humiliate me in front of everyone I know? That you were willing to help him take my children? I didn't know about the kidnapping plan." Ngozi's hands rested on her belly. "I swear, Amara. He told me we were taking the girls on a vacation to give you space to calm down. I didn't know he was planning to leave the country. And that makes it better? You were still sleeping with him. You were still destroying my marriage." Ngozi closed her eyes. "He told me you didn't love him anymore. That you were cold, distant, only cared about his money. He said you'd stopped being a real wife years ago." The emotional manipulation extended even to the mistress. Of course Chaik had lied to Ngozi too, had twisted reality to make himself the victim. That's what men like him did. "Did you love him?" Amara asked. "Or did you love what he could give you?" "I don't know," Ngozi whispered. "Maybe both. Maybe neither. I was 28, broke. I still love my wife," Chaik continued, and Amara's stomach turned. "I know I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I hope she understands that I never wanted any of this. I never wanted our family destroyed. All I want is the chance to be a father to my daughters again." The interview ended with a plea. "If you're watching, Amara, please. Let's end this. For the girls." Amara's phone immediately started ringing. Journalists, friends, family, everyone wanting her reaction. She turned off her phone and sat in the dark, thinking about the man she'd married. The man who could look into a camera and lie so smoothly that even she almost believed him. A text came through before the phone went completely silent. From Adiz, "Don't let him get to you. This is what abusers do, they play the victim. Stay strong." But Amara wasn't sure she had any strength left. She'd used it all up on revenge, on fighting, on surviving. What was left was just exhaustion. She climbed the stairs to check on her daughters. They were sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm still raging around them. Kayamika had her arms around a stuffed elephant Chaik had given her last Christmas. Chitara was clutching a photo of the whole family, back when they were happy, or at least when Amara had thought they were happy. Looking at her daughters, Amara made a decision. She wasn't going to fight anymore. Not publicly. Not in the media. Not on anyone's terms but her own. Tomorrow, she would call Yutun and tell her to proceed with the case without her involvement. She would let the lawyers and the evidence speak for themselves. She would focus on her daughters, on therapy, on rebuilding their lives away from the spotlight. If Chaik walked free, so be it. She couldn't control that. But she could control her own life, her own choices. Revenge had nearly destroyed her. She wouldn't let it finish the job. The next morning, Amara woke to find a car idling outside her gate. Not reporters, she'd learned to recognize those. This was a black Mercedes with tinted windows, expensive and ominous. As she watched from the window, a man emerged. Tall, well-dressed, wearing sunglasses even though the morning was overcast. He walked to her gate and pressed the intercom. "Mrs. Okafor, my name is Obinna Nwosu. I work for the U.S. Embassy. I need to speak with you about a matter of urgent importance." Amara's heart raced. The U.S. Embassy? What did they want with her? Against her better judgment, she went to the gate. "What is this about?" "Your husband has been under investigation by the FBI for money laundering. They believe he's been moving funds through American banks to finance operations in Nigeria. They want to offer you a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Immunity from prosecution in exchange for testimony. They believe you have knowledge of his financial crimes." Obinna handed her a business card through the gate bars. "Think about it. But don't think too long. The offer expires in 72 hours. He returned to his car and drove away, leaving Amara standing at her gate with a business card in her hand and a new choice to make. She could cooperate with the FBI, potentially sending Chike to prison in America where his connections and bribes meant nothing. Where he'd serve real time with no chance of escape. Or she could stay silent, let the Nigerian courts handle it, and hope for the best. Revenge or murder? Amara sat across from FBI agent Marcus Wright in a secure room at the U.S. Embassy in Lagos. The walls were soundproof, the windows bulletproof. She felt like she was in a spy movie, except this was her life. "Your husband has been laundering money through shell corporations in Delaware and the Cayman Islands," Agent Wright explained, spreading documents across the table. "We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Money from fraud, from corruption, possibly from human trafficking." Amara's stomach turned. "Human trafficking? We're still investigating. But Okafor Tech had contracts with several governments known for forced labor practices. The money trail suggests your husband was facilitating, or at least profiting from, some very dark operations." Agent Wright leaned forward. "With your testimony about his financial practices, we can build a case that will put him away for 30 years in a U.S. federal prison. No parole. No bribes. He threatened my daughters. We can put you in witness protection. All three of you. New identities, new location, complete security." Amara looked at the documents, seeing Chike's signature on page after page of illegal transactions. She thought about what Agent Wright had said, human trafficking. Her husband wasn't just a cheater and a murderer. He was something worse. She thought about the FBI's offer. Witness protection meant leaving Nigeria, leaving her life, becoming someone else. It meant the twins growing up in hiding, always looking over their shoulders. But it also meant freedom. Real freedom. "I need to think about it," she said. "You have 48 hours, Agent Wright replied. "After that, we move forward without you." That evening, Amara sat with Funmi on the terrace, watching the sun set over Lagos. The city sprawled below them, millions of lives intersecting, everyone fighting their own battles. "What are you going to do?" Funmi asked. "I don't know." Amara sipped her wine, barely tasting it. "If I testify, I'm putting the girls in danger. But if I don't, Chike might walk free. And then what? He'll come after us anyway. Maybe you should talk to them. The twins. They're young, but they're smart. They deserve to know what's happening." Amara had been avoiding that conversation, trying to protect them from the ugliness. But maybe Funmi was right. Maybe it was time to stop shielding them and start preparing them. That night, after dinner, she sat both girls down in the living room. "Mama has to tell you something important," she began. "You know Daddy is in trouble with the police. The reason he's in trouble is because he did some very bad things. Things that hurt people." Kayamika's eyes filled with tears. "But Daddy's not bad. He reads us stories. He plays with us." "I know, baby. People can be good sometimes and bad other times. Daddy loves you very much. But he also made choices that hurt our family and hurt other people." Chidera, always the more serious twin, asked quietly, "Are we in danger?" Children were more perceptive than adults gave them credit for. "Maybe," Amara said honestly. "That's why Mama has to make a big decision. We might need to move away from Lagos. Away from Nigeria. To a place where we'll be safe." "Forever?" Kayamika whispered. "I don't know. Maybe for a long time." The twins looked at each other, having one of their silent twin conversations. Finally, Chidera spoke, "Will Daddy be able to find us?" "No. That's the point. We'd be hidden." "Good," Chidera said firmly. "I don't want to see Daddy anymore. He scares me now." Kayamika started crying. "But I miss him. I miss when we were happy." Amara pulled both girls close, her own tears finally falling. "I miss that too, sweetheart. I miss it so much. But that family doesn't exist anymore. We have to make a new family. Just the three of us. And Auntie fund me? Kayamika asked hopefully. Amara smiled through her tears. Yes. And Auntie fund me. After putting the girls to bed, Amara made her decision. She called Agent Wright. I'll testify, she said. But I have conditions. The next 72 hours were a blur of preparation. FBI agents swept her house for surveillance equipment. They found 3 cameras Chaik had installed, monitoring her every move. They set up security details, planned her evacuation route, prepared her testimony. I need to tell you something, Adiz said. About the evidence I gave you. About my husband's death. Amara's stomach tightened. What about it? It's real. The audio recordings, the financial documents, all of it is real. But, Adiz paused. My husband wasn't innocent. He was Chaik's partner in the fraud. They were both stealing together. The only reason Chaik had him killed was because he wanted a bigger share. The ground shifted under Amara's feet. So you lied? I didn't lie. Chaik did order the murder. That's true. But I let you believe my husband was a victim when really, he was just as guilty. Adiz's eyes filled with tears. I wanted revenge so badly that I used you to get it. And now you're about to testify to the FBI, and if they dig deeper, they'll discover that my evidence is tainted. Your case could fall apart. Amara sat down heavily, her mind racing. If Adiz's evidence was compromised, the FBI's case might collapse. Chaik could walk free. All of this, the fighting, the fear, the planning, would be for nothing. Why are you telling me this now? Amara demanded. Because I saw what you did for your sister. You showed mercy when you didn't have to, and I realized I can't let you sacrifice your life for my revenge. Adiz pulled out a folder. This is everything, the truth about my husband, the whole story. Give it to the FBI. Let them decide if the case is still viable. After Adiz left, Amara sat with the folder, unopened. She could give it to the FBI and risk losing the case against Chaik. Or she could destroy it and proceed with the testimony, building her new life on a foundation of lies. She thought about all the choices that had led her here. Every decision made in anger, in fear, in desperation. How many lies had she told herself? How many truths had she ignored? She opened the folder and started reading. The truth was messy, complicated. Adiz's husband had been guilty, but that didn't make the murder right. Chaik was a killer, but he'd also killed a criminal. The whole situation was gray, not the black and white she'd wanted it to be. Amara called Agent Wright. I need to show you something, she said. Something that might change everything. The next morning, Agent Wright sat in Amara's living room, reading through Adiz's confession. This is a problem, he said finally. Not an insurmountable one, but a problem. The defense will use it to question our credibility. So what happens now? We still have the other evidence, the money laundering, the bribery, the fraud. We don't need the murder case to put him away. It just won't be as clean. Agent Wright looked at her. The question is, are you still willing to testify? Because once you do, there's no going back. Amara thought about her daughters, sleeping upstairs. About the life they could have in America, away from the scandal and the threats. About finally being free of Chaik's shadow. I'm still willing, she said. Then we proceed. The testimony is in 2 days. Be ready. After he left, Amara walked through her house one last time. This mansion that had been her prison and her palace. She thought about the woman she'd been when she first moved in, young, hopeful, in love with a man who didn't exist. That woman was gone. In her place was someone harder, wiser, scarred but surviving. Her phone rang. A restricted number. Don't do it, Amara. It was Ngozi, her voice urgent. Don't testify. How did you? Chaik's lawyers told me. They're planning something. Something bad. They know about the FBI, about your testimony. They're going to. The line went dead. Amara's blood ran cold. She called Agent Wright immediately. We need to move up the timeline, she said. They know. Chaik knows everything. How? I don't know, but we're not safe. We need to leave now. Within 2 hours, FBI agents had packed their essential belongings and were loading them into unmarked cars. The twins were confused but excited. Amara had told them they were going on an adventure. As they drove away from Banana Island, Amara looked back one last time at the house where her marriage had died. Where she'd been betrayed, humiliated, broken. Where she'd also learned she was strong enough to survive anything. Where are we going, Mama? Kayamika asked from the back seat. Somewhere new, Amara said, reaching back to hold her daughter's hands. Somewhere safe. Somewhere we can be happy again. The car merged into Lagos traffic, disappearing into the flow of millions of other lives, other stories, other people fighting their own battles. And for the first time in months, Amara felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Time slowed to a crawl. Amara saw the gun, saw the man's finger tightening on the trigger, and in that frozen moment, she thought of everything she'd survived, the betrayal, the fighting, the impossible choices, only to have it end like this, in Lagos traffic, with her daughters in the car. "Get down!" Agent Wright shouted from the passenger seat, drawing his own weapon. The FBI driver swerved hard right, tires screaming. The gunman's shot went wild, shattering the window but missing everyone inside. The twins screamed. Amara threw herself across them, shielding their bodies with her own. More FBI vehicles materialized from nowhere. They'd been tailing the car, anticipating exactly this kind of attack. Within seconds, the gunman's vehicle was boxed in, agents swarming it with weapons drawn. But the damage was done. The twins were hysterical. Kayamaka. Retrio. Continue. Sobbing uncontrollably, Chitara shaking so hard her teeth chattered. This wasn't an adventure anymore. This was real terror, the kind that left scars. "Keep driving," Agent Wright ordered. "We don't stop until we're airborne." The rest of the drive to Murtala Muhammad Airport was a blur of sirens and escort vehicles. They bypassed all security, driving directly onto the tarmac where a small jet waited, engines already running. As they boarded, Amara held her daughters close, whispering reassurances she wasn't sure she believed. "We're safe now. We're safe. I promise." But Kayamaka pulled back, looking at her mother with eyes too old for a 7-year-old. "You promised we'd be safe before, Mama. And that man tried to kill us." The words hit Amara like a physical blow. Her daughter was right. She'd made promises she couldn't keep, had dragged her children into a war they never asked to fight. "I know, baby," Amara said, her own voice breaking. "I know I can't promise we'll always be safe. But I can promise I'll never stop fighting to protect you. Never." As the jet lifted off, Amara watched Lagos disappear below, the sprawling city that had been her home, her prison, her battlefield. She thought of everything she was leaving behind, her house, her friends, her identity, her country. And Ngozi. Her sister was still down there, pregnant and facing charges as Chike's accomplice. Despite everything, Amara felt a pang of guilt for leaving her behind. She pulled out her phone before they reached altitude and typed a final message: "There's money in an account under your name at Zenith Bank. Enough for the baby, for a fresh start. Use it wisely. I can't forgive you yet, but I can give you a chance. Don't waste it." She hit send, then powered down the phone for the last time. Amara Okafor was disappearing. Whoever she would become in America would be someone new. 12 hours later, they landed in a city Amara had never been to. Agent Wright finally revealed it was Atlanta, Georgia. The FBI had arranged an apartment, new identities, enrollment in a good school for the twins. "You'll be Sarah Mitchell," Agent Wright explained as they drove through unfamiliar streets. "Your daughters are Maya and Mia. You're a widow from California, relocated here for work. That's your story, and you need to stick to it perfectly." Sarah Mitchell. The name felt foreign in her mouth, like a costume that didn't quite fit. But then, she supposed that was the point. Amara Okafor couldn't exist anymore, not if they wanted to stay alive. The apartment was modest compared to the Banana Island mansion: 2 bedrooms, basic furniture, a view of a parking lot instead of the ocean. But it had something the mansion never had: it was theirs alone, free from Chike's shadow. That first night in America, after the twins finally cried themselves to sleep, Sarah, sat by the window and let herself grieve. She grieved for the marriage she'd thought she had. She grieved for the sister she'd lost. She grieved for the woman she used to be, before betrayal had hardened her into someone who could walk away from everything without looking back. Her new phone buzzed. A secure message from Yatund, who'd been read into the FBI operation: "Chike's been extradited. He'll face trial in New York in 6 months. Your testimony sealed the deal. Also, Ngozi received the money. She asked me to tell you thank you. And that she's sorry. She's sorry for everything." Sarah closed her eyes. It wasn't enough, sorry would never be enough. But maybe, in time, it would be something she could build forgiveness on. Not now. Not soon. But someday. 3 months passed. The twins started school, slowly coming out of their shells. Maya, formerly Kayamaka, made a best friend named Jasmine. Mia, formerly Chitara, joined the school choir. They were healing, slowly, in the way children do when given safety and routine. Sarah found work at a non-profit helping survivors of domestic violence. The irony wasn't lost on her: she was now on the other side, helping women navigate the same kind of betrayal and public disgrace she'd endured. It gave her purpose, made the sacrifice of her old life feel meaningful. She'd changed too. Her hair was shorter now, dyed a different shade. She wore less makeup, dressed more casually. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. But maybe that was the point. Maybe she'd needed to become someone new to finally be free. Agent Wright called regularly with updates. The trial was proceeding. Chike's lawyers were mounting a fierce defense, but the evidence was overwhelming. The money laundering charges alone would put him away for decades. He's asking to see you, Agent Wright said during one call. Claims he has information about other threats to your safety. He'll only talk to you. It's a trap, Sarah said immediately. Probably. But what if it's not? Isn't it true that you worked with Mrs. Nwankwo to frame my client for murder? No. The evidence speaks for itself. You're a scorned woman who's using the justice system to punish a man for breaking your heart. Sarah leaned forward, looking directly at the camera, directly at Chike. Your client didn't break my heart. He destroyed my life, threatened my children, and built his fortune on stolen technology and blood money. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because the truth deserves to be told. The courtroom erupted. The judge called for order. And Chike, for the first time since the trial began, looked afraid. The testimony wrapped up 2 hours later. As Sarah left the FBI office, Agent Wright walked her to her car. That was powerful, he said. You did good in there. Will it be enough? With everything else we have? Yes. He's going to prison for a very long time. Sarah nodded, feeling neither triumph nor satisfaction. Just tired. So deeply tired. What happens now? She asked. Now you live your life. You're free, Sarah. Really free. No more looking over your shoulder. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's over. Over. The word felt impossible. After months of fighting, of running, of surviving, could it really be over? 2 weeks later, the verdict came in. Guilty on all counts. Chike Okafor was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. The news hit social media like a bomb. In Nigeria, the blogs went wild. Some celebrated his downfall. Others claimed he'd been persecuted, a victim of American imperialism and a vengeful ex-wife. Sarah read the articles from her apartment in Atlanta, feeling distant from it all. That world, Lagos, the scandal, the public betrayal, felt like it had happened to someone else. In a way, it had. Amara Okafor was gone. Sarah Mitchell had taken her place. Her phone rang. A Nigerian number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. Hello? Sister. Ngozi's voice, thick with tears. I saw the news. I saw what happened to Chike. What do you want, Ngozi? To thank you. For the money. For giving me a chance when I didn't deserve it. A pause. I had the baby. A girl. I named her Amarachi, God's grace. Because that's what you showed me. Grace. Sarah's throat tightened. How are you? Scared. Alone. But surviving. The charges were dropped, your lawyer made sure of that. I'm trying to be better, to be the kind of mother our mother would have wanted me to be. Good. That's good. Can I ask you something? Will you ever forgive me? Sarah looked out her window at the Atlanta skyline, so different from Lagos. She thought about all she'd learned about revenge and mercy, about justice and grace, about the cost of hatred and the freedom of letting go. I don't know, she said honestly. Maybe someday. But not today. I understand. Thank you for being honest. Ngozi's voice broke. I miss you, sister. I miss the family we used to be. I miss that too. But that family doesn't exist anymore. We're different people now. After hanging up, Sarah sat in the quiet of her apartment, her safe, modest, unremarkable apartment, and felt something shift in her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet. But the possibility of it. The first seed of healing. 1 year after arriving in America, Sarah stood in the audience at her daughter's school play. Maya had a lead role. Mia was singing in the chorus. They were thriving, finally, their nightmares less frequent, their smiles more genuine. After the performance, Maya ran to her, beaming. Did you see me, Mama? Did you see? I saw everything, baby. You were perfect. As they walked to the car, Mia slipped her hand into Sarah's. Mama, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you miss Lagos? Do you miss our old life? Sarah stopped walking, crouching down to look at both her daughters. I miss some things. I miss your grandmother. I miss jollof rice and suya and the sound of the ocean. But I don't miss being afraid. And I don't miss pretending to be happy when I wasn't. Are you happy now? Maya asked. Sarah looked at her daughters, healthy, safe, healing. She thought about her work helping other women escape their own nightmares. She thought about the simple pleasure of waking up without fear, of making choices without threats. Yes, she said, surprised to realize it was true. I'm getting there. Every day, a little more. That night, after tucking the girls into bed, Sarah pulled out a journal she'd been keeping, a record of everything that had happened, everything she'd learned. She turned to a blank page and wrote, "I thought revenge would heal me. I thought destroying the man who betrayed me would make me whole again. But revenge is a hunger that's never satisfied. It consumes everything, your peace, your joy, your humanity. What heals you is choosing to live. Choosing to protect what matters. Choosing mercy when you could choose hatred. I lost almost everything, my marriage, my country, my identity, my sister. But I gained something more valuable, my freedom and my daughter's safety. And myself. The real me, not the woman I pretended to be to keep a man who never deserved me. Chaik is in prison. Ngozi is alone with her choices. And I am here, in a new city with a new name, building a new life from the ashes of the old one. This is my congratulations on your fresh start." Sarah smiled in the darkness. Money had never been the point. Freedom was. And freedom, she'd finally learned, wasn't something someone else could give you or take away. It was something you claimed for yourself, one difficult choice at a time. She closed her eyes and slept peacefully, dreamlessly, for the first time in years. The war was over. And she had won, not by destroying her enemy, but by refusing to let the enemy destroy her. Epilogue, 5 years later. Sarah Mitchell stood on the stage of the Atlanta Civic Center, addressing a crowd of 500 women at the Survivors Conference she'd helped organize. Her daughters, now 12, sat in the front row with Funmi, who'd immigrated to America 2 years earlier and now worked alongside Sarah at the nonprofit. "Domestic betrayal doesn't just break your heart," Sarah said into the microphone, her voice steady and strong. "It breaks your sense of who you are, what you can trust, where you belong in the world. For a long time, I thought revenge would fix that. I thought if I could just make him suffer the way he made me suffer, I'd feel whole again." The audience leaned forward, captivated. But revenge is poison. It poisons everything it touches. The real healing came when I chose to walk away. When I chose my children over my anger. When I chose peace over vengeance. After the speech, women lined up to thank her, to share their own stories of infidelity and betrayal, of cheating spouses and public disgrace, of co-parenting conflicts and emotional manipulation. Sarah listened to each one, offered resources, provided hope. This was her life now. This was what she'd built from the ruins of her marriage. That evening, as she tucked her daughters into bed, still doing it even though they protested they were too old, Maya said, "Mama, at school today, we learned about Nigeria in geography class. My teacher asked if anyone had been there." Sarah's heart clenched. "What did you say?" "I said no. Because Maya and Mia have never been there." "But," Maya looked at her seriously. "Kayamika has. And I remember it sometimes. Is that okay?" Sarah pulled her daughter close, tears stinging her eyes. "Yes, baby. It's okay to remember. It's okay to be both people, who you were and who you are now. Do you ever regret it? Leaving? Starting over?" Sarah thought about the question. Did she regret it? She regretted the betrayal that forced the choice. She regretted the pain her daughters had endured. She regretted losing her sister, her country, her identity. But did she regret choosing survival? Choosing freedom? Choosing life? "No," she said finally. "I don't regret it. I'm proud of us. Look at how strong we've become." After the girls fell asleep, Sarah stood on her balcony, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere in New York, Chaik was serving his sentence. She'd heard through Yutun that he'd aged terribly, that prison had broken something fundamental in him. She felt no satisfaction in that knowledge, no triumph. Just sadness for all the wasted years, all the unnecessary pain. And somewhere in Lagos, Ngozi was raising Amarachi, reportedly running a small boutique and staying away from married men. They exchanged emails occasionally now, nothing deep, nothing that touched on the betrayal. Just surface updates, the careful correspondence of two people who used to be sisters and might someday be again. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "Is this Amara Okafor?" Her blood ran cold. No one was supposed to know that name. No one in America knew who she really was. She typed back carefully, "I think you have the wrong number. I know who you are. I know what you did. And I know where you live. We need to talk. Tomorrow. Noon. Piedmont Park. Come alone, or I go to the media with everything." Sarah's hands shook. After 5 years of peace, was it starting again? Was there no escape from the past? She looked at her sleeping daughters through the doorway, thought about the life they'd built, the safety they'd finally found. And she realized, she wasn't the same woman who'd fled Lagos in terror 5 years ago. She was stronger now. Wiser. Ready to fight if she had to. She typed back, "I'll be there." Then she called Agent Wright, who'd become a friend over the years. "I think we have a problem." But as she lay in bed that night, waiting for sleep, Sarah felt something unexpected, not fear, but readiness. Whatever came next, whoever had found her, she would face it. She would protect her daughters. She would protect the life they'd built. Because that's what survivors do. They survive. And then they thrive. And if someone tried to take that away from them? Well, they'd learn from the best. And this time, Sarah Mitchell, formerly Amara Okafor, knew exactly who she was and what she was capable of. The story might not be over. But neither was she. The end. What an incredible journey. Did Amara/Sarah's story touch your heart? Would you have made the same choices? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss our next emotional journey. Share this with someone who needs to hear a story about survival, strength, and starting over. What do you think that mysterious message was about? Could there be more to Amara's story? Let us know if you want a part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, you're stronger than you think, and you deserve a life free from betrayal and pain. Until next time, stay strong, stay blessed, and keep fighting for your happiness. Folded hands, red heart. Retry. Claude can make mistakes. Please double check responses.